Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to another edition of Story World Explorers, where we're exploring the story world of Jancroon.
So Jancroon is created by Louie Olivas, and it takes place 1,000 years in the future on a galactiport, where humanity has left Earth and are now cohabiting this galactiport with another species called the Croon.
Yeah, and it's called a galactiport and not a space station because it is over 800 miles long and
Right.
houses, and we only know the human population of over 20 million humans on just one half of it.
Right.
And the Croon and the humans don't really get together. That they don't really see eye to eye and everything. And there's this prophecy that sparks a lot of the
Animosity,
yeah, a lot of the gasoline that has been poured all over the streets.
Yeah, they live on opposite sides of this galactic port. There's not a lot of commingling going on, and there's a lot of mistrust, and that's really where the story world kicks off with a graphic novel and a Roblox video game. And we talked a lot of other cool things they could do with the website as they are fundraising to get more money to get this story world kicked off on the right foot. Mm-hmm. So it's a great episode, a lot of cool stuff to sink your teeth into, and it's coming up right after this. All right, welcome back to another edition of Story World Explorers. Today we're talking to Louie Olivas and the story world of Jancroon. Louie, we get started by you giving us a little information about who you are, and then a little bit about
a little about the world.
A little bit about the world.
Okay. So a while back, I attended film school at the University of Arizona. After that, I focused on screenwriting, and I started to create my own original IPs, not based on anything, just my own original story worlds. Eventually, I realized I needed to start thinking like a producer. And one of my properties is a new sci-fi story world called Jancroon. And eventually I got it in front of one of George Lucas's creature designers on the Star Wars prequels. Her name was Tara Willach, and she did the very first creature character concepts for the story world. And as you can imagine, came out fantastic. So once I did that, then I really started to think bigger. I had all sorts of people telling me, look, Louie, you need to start your own company. If you're like, my attorney said, look, if you're going to be hiring concept designers, you need to do it properly and hire and start your own company. So then, of course, I started to not just be a screenwriter, but a producer. And once I had visuals to this story world, then I started to learn more about what I had created. Like when you just write something and create something, you don't really know what you have until you get other feedback. And so I started to get feedback from the video game industry that this could be a really expansive, really cool sci-fi video game series. Obviously it was meant for feature films. As we went on, and we started to explore just other possibilities instead of just going the feature film route, which I was very naive. So I realized that no one's going to invest in a huge new sci-fi IP by some kid they never even heard of. So started to realize that I need to develop this on my own somehow, some way. So, obviously you're always trying to find investors, you're always trying to find different avenues. And then along the way, I had other people saying, look, this could be a great comic book or graphic novel series. However, when I started to research that, all the good, at least back then, I'm talking like 2014, 2015, like 10 years ago, most of the really good comic book and graphic novel people were already working for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse. So they weren't available. But since then, in about the last 5 years, a lot of these really talented people went independent, and that's what allowed us to contact them. It's the same with concept designers in Hollywood. I managed to get, after I worked with Tara Willach, one of the first concept designer that did any sort of technical, environmentals was Ryan Church. Ryan Church had just come off of the Star Wars prequels too, but he had gone independent, and I was able to get in front of him when he was independent. I hired him, and he actually did the very first concept of the Jancroon galactiport. And but he's now at Lucasfilm, and he's one of the top designers out there. But since he's now at Lucasfilm, I can't. No one. He's not an independent guy. So there are other artists that we've worked with since then, and I did find some local investors in my area that helped us develop this further. And we're now at the point where we've developed the story world to the point where it is now primed for second tier investors, larger investment to really blow this out. So, as well, I'm sure we'll talk about, we have the mapping done for a Roblox game. We've already started the graphic novel,
Yeah.
and we're in talks with some folks, some fairly big animation studios for an animation series.
Yeah.
And
So there's a lot of stuff that's percolating up and coming out with the story world, and I love the story of, hey, well, I started doing filmmaking and I started screenwriting, and then I realized that nobody was coming to save me, right? Like I gotta save myself, and that's where transmedia really comes
Yeah.
up and really makes that work.
Mhm.
So let's dive in. Let's go in. Let's travel to Jancroon, which is a galactiport.
Right.
So give us kind of
what's the transport that you what's the name of what's the transport called?
Oh, you mean the ships I showed you guys?
Yeah. What are they called?
Oh, I just call them trams for right now. So
Okay.
those are
Okay,
Well, take us on a Jancroon tram and take us down into
yeah,
the
right.
port.
What's going on? What is the galactiport?
Yeah,
And,
right.
yeah,
so I'm pretty sure I came up with the term galactiport because I didn't like the term space station. Whenever I heard the term space station, I think of the International Space Station, which looks just like a giant, like an erector set floating out there. And so I didn't. And in the first drafts of the script, I call it space station, but I didn't like it, so I came up with galactiport, and that feels bigger. So in this story world, it takes place in the far future, about 1,000 years of future. Humanity is no longer on Earth. They've spread out into the cosmos on these giant self-sustained galactiports. And this particular story takes place on the galactiport called Jancroon. And Jancroon is unique in that it was created to house and to be home for humans and a newly discovered race called Croon, Croon. And so Jancroon, by design, you can see this is one of the images we have of Jancroon. Let me go like this.
this is for our YouTube audience right behind you.
Yeah.
And you should be watching it on YouTube as well if you're listening to this, if you have the opportunity, because all while he was describing those character artists and stuff, we had some images pop up to show, kind of give your what people are seeing.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay. So it's symmetrical. So each half is, and it's divided by a huge entertainment dome in the center. But even though the city was built for two new discovered races to live with each other, they live on either half of the city. So there's a separation. And as the story goes on, you realize that there's tension between the Croon and the human, and you don't really know why. So there's like a quiet tension, and it's kind of a mystery. So I don't really, obviously, there's a much bigger story that I'm going to tell after this first installment. So a lot of things you don't find out until the second and third installment. But the galactiport itself, it's massive. It's like 800 miles long, maybe 40 or 50 miles wide, and we're hoping, in our next phase of fundraise, we're going to really dive into the inner workings of the city and really show the scale of this breathtaking galactiport. And that's part of what I want to do as a filmmaker, is bring scale, a different scale to what we see. A lot of the sci-fi fare out there, even though there's different looks and stuff, it's still the same scale as if you were going through New York City, you know. So the scale and scope of these galactiports are just massive, and it's going to be a real challenge to just put that onto two-dimensional paper from a concept designer, let alone on film. But I think that's going to be really rewarding if we can really blow audiences away with just flying in a tram down into the city and just really, actually, that's one of the first shots in the screenplay. The very first thing is you see a captain in a cargo ship approaching the city, and his co-pilot has never been to Jancroon before, and they have a quick conversation as they're coming closer to the city, and he can't believe how massive it is, and so it dips down into the city, and it's gonna be it could be really something special to experience. So
Sure. Yeah. I mean, even just to conceptually talking about it now, like so we have humans. We're not on Earth anymore, right? We have Exodus. We can make up 100 stories of what happened to
Yeah.
Earth, right?
well,
Um,
you do kind of figure out what happened, um, and it's not pretty.
Mm.
well,
So
I would assume so. I don't
yeah,
think. Yeah, we're just
yeah.
like, hey,
So
we're gonna
it
leave this to the animals now. We're just gonna leave, and we're just gonna make a safe
yeah,
nature
Yeah,
haven.
yeah,
of
it's
all
a
of
big
our-
zoo.
It's a big zoo. Oh, hey, a big zoo. Maybe it's a Fallout zoo. It sounds like.
yeah.
But like, so the size of Jane Croon and even the intention behind it, there's a lot to explore there, right? Like, when you have something that's 800 miles long and 50 miles wide,
Yeah.
right, and two separate races of well, not even races, it's two separate species, right? Separated, and I didn't know this until right this second, but there's an entertainment dome in the middle, which sounds a lot like a coliseum where these guys are fighting each other, which is also kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about this, like how many inhabitants are we talking about on this galactiport? And then I'll tee up with another question too, where it's why are they separated, or is that something that we don't know?
I,
I think there was obviously with a newly discovered race, they're still kind of feeling each other out. There's so and so this galactiport was designed by a man named Michael Jane, that's how the name comes. His name is Jan.
Yeah.
So he created it, he designed it. Um, there's rumors that Michael Jane was a hybrid alien human. So there could be a lot of secrets within the city that are yet to be discovered.
Sure.
But I think the both the human and the Croon decided, look, the city will be built for both of us, but it was always meant to be, okay, you're on that side, we're on this side, and we'll see what happens, But um, as the story goes on, you do start to see that there are really bad intentions by the Croon.
Hmm.
And so there's about 20 million civilians or human beings, maybe about 20, equal, there's
Sure.
only
Sure.
so much capacity, but it's such a big place. There's about 20 million human beings on the human side.
Yeah.
So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's massive.
That's
yeah.
And especially, I mean, if it's packed like like the size of like New York is packed, it could easily fit more than that. You know what I mean? So it might not
Sure.
even be at full capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think
So
about it.
with screenplays, you have to describe the most with the fewest words possible. So I can't go into detail like a novelist. Um, but I do use the term star scrapers. So there are buildings on the
Oh.
city that are 5 to 6 miles high. I mean,
Mhm.
the scope of these buildings and these structures are so immense. And think about it, it's a structure that high with all sorts of apartments and condos and stuff that can house a lot of people.
Right.
And obviously, it's a city in the future. So I'm really looking forward to working with some of our designers to really get into the inner workings of the city. I think it's going to be really fun. Um,
Yeah.
so it is going to be. I keep using the word breathtaking because that's what I want to experience. I know me as just someone who loves movies and stuff. I want to be blown away. I want to see things I've never seen before, and that's hopefully what we're going to deliver. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then there's this. It's an odd situation from the get go, right? Of like, we're gonna make this massive floating or space-bound city, and we're gonna have it for two separate species, and there's gonna be a wall in between, right? Like, they don't come to be, right? They don't intermingle all that often. And so this tension that's kind of arriving, right? It's almost, like you could assume that there was going to be tension, right? Because there's
Well, I mean, and correct, the intention was not for them to be on separate sides. It was just kind of the way they like agreed to
I think
coexist,
they
right?
kind of agreed to it at first. It's not like there was
Yeah.
uh, any initial outright upfront tension. Um,
Mm.
in this first installment, you start off with there's these kind of Olympic games happening in the Great Dome. I just simply call it the Great Dome, and they are Olympic games between the human and the Croon.
Hmm.
So that's how you are introduced, but you also see just the physical dominance of the Croon over the human. It's kind of like a joke. Um,
Hmm.
so actually, the first time you see a Croon in the script is um, it's in the MMA. There's I originally had it as a wrestling event, but I kind of changed it to mixed martial arts, and you see, so basically a Croon keeper, which is one of the Croon sort of soldiers, he's squaring off with a human, and even though the human is a big dude, you can just see the size difference between the Croon and the human, and the human just gets pummeled, just gets destroyed. So I really establish the physical dominance, and it leads into the background of the Croon and their love for physical combat, and it really goes into, like I was explaining to you, how their weapons, their firing guns, can morph into melee weapons because of their. I don't know if you remember me talking about their honor code they have.
No,
Um,
actually, let's
Yeah,
dive into
let's
the Croon.
dive into
Let's
the
dive
yeah.
into
Let's
Croon.
dive into the honor
What's
code. That sounds
so what are
interesting.
they all about? Where do these people
Yeah.
come? Where do these Croon come from? You know, and what's what's their deal?
so I haven't named their homeworld yet. I'm thinking about. I have several different names I'm thinking about. That'll come later. We really don't find that out till later on the story. But basically, the Kroon believe they are the superior race in all the universe. And by all means, physically, they kind of are. I mean, so like I said, Terrell Whitlatch did the initial concepts. We're still developing them, but I wanted the the villains, the antagonists of a story world like this are extremely important. My philosophy is if you have a weak villain, you have a weak hero. A hero is only as strong as the villains they overcome. So I set out to create some of the greatest villains we could possibly see. I want them to be, and usually villains are the ugly guys in the room. They're the menacing ones. Like if you take Lord of the Rings, the orcs, just these mindless, ugly creatures that you got to fight. I wanted the crew to be opposite that. I want them to be striking. I want them to be like at least some of them beautiful, you know. And the Kroon are as diverse as humanity. So if you think about the task we have of conceptually designing just an array of this Kroon race, and I did make sure there are four. I call them sub races, but I call them either sub races or clans. So, and they all have different features, different skin tones. So they are diverse. So once we can get to the point where we have a team of concept designers, you're going to see in a whole array of these amazing characters. And they range between 8 feet tall and 12 feet tall. And so they're going to be very diverse. And I think they're going to be visually stunning to experience, whether it's in a graphic novel or
So one of
animation.
my so
Sure.
my I guess one so like you said that there was a tension between the humans and the Kroon,
Mm.
and the Kroon might have some dastardly intentions.
Right.
What is stopping the Kroon from just obviously bullying the humans off of it?
Yeah. Right. Like
You know what I mean?
it doesn't seem like there would be much to stop it outside of
Do we have
lack of a
is there,
battering
is
ram.
there is there like like some kind of law that says only the humans have access to weapons or in the city
No,
or is it just
there's no laws like that because that would have been a triggering point I think much earlier in this story.
mm-hmm.
But like
Sure.
you said, what's to stop them? That's exactly what happens.
Oh,
So,
Mm.
so ironically, the this happening with these four main human heroes.
Mm.
This remember the the prophecy I mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll have to dive into the
we want
prophecy in a bit.
but that happening is actually what triggers to what you just said, Jack. That's what the
Oh,
Croon decide. You know what? It's on because
okay.
they're getting suspicious. Their intel network is infiltrating and monitoring what's happening on their human side. So they're hearing all this stuff too. And so
Okay.
they're like, what the hell's going on? So there's the mistrust is just building up
Yeah.
Sure.
till there's a breaking point, which literally happens in the very middle of the first act
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this. So there's a lot of mistrust. They're monitoring. They're hearing exactly what the leaders of the human side are hearing, and then there's also, like I said, there's also something else that's
Yeah.
happening, Brune, that is the true impetus for them to do what they do.
Right.
But I'm trying to think. Like, is there like an economic reason for the galactiport to work together? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I was kind of alluding to
it's
that
like
a bit because
it's like
why
what
would
is
they have agreed to?
yeah? Why are they agreeing
I
to
think
work
it's more
together?
like, okay, there's two sentient races that just came into contact with each other.
Mhm.
So out of goodwill, let's build this galactiport
Oh, okay.
and have like a pilot program.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
a joint. It's like the International
Yeah.
Space Station. It's like
like
we
they
have
built-
we have multiple countries
It's an
that are
intergalactical intergalactical
inter solar
galactiport.
system, intergalactical, interuniversal galactiport.
Yeah, something like that.
That
So,
try
well,
try
okay,
putting
well,
that
now-
down to a monogram.
But yeah, but that like makes sense as to why they're like working
Yeah.
together until the
Sure,
this
yeah.
could and this is and how old is Jancroon at the time of the schism?
It's
that
it's
might
less
be-
than 100 years old.
okay.
so-
So
Okay,
this
yeah.
isn't taken. This is like some of the original settlers are still
Think of it
alive.
think of it. So the galactiport Jancroon is the newest, very newest of all the galactiports built.
Okay.
And since the Croon were just came into contact with each other, it was almost like a goodwill pilot
Okay.
program for the two races to live on Jancroon. But it's like we barely even know each other, you know.
Right, yeah. So
Okay. But is
it's
this-
almost like they had a baby together,
Yeah, right. Is
but
this-
there was a one night stand,
No.
and they're like, "Well, I guess we got to try to see if this is going to
No,
work."
but in this because there's more than one galactiport. Is this something that's happened? Like, is this kind of like a universal thing where it's
what
like
humans are doing with
well,
other
right
sentient
when
races.
we get into another when humans discover a new alien race or new alien species, they say, hey, let's come together and build a galactiport together. Is that something that like happens often, or some galactiports totally funded by
It kind of
or
so
humanity?
here's at the very beginning of the script, I basically kind of lay out what happens. So, and I'm kind of vague, but it basically says after what happened on Earth, something disastrous happens.
Okay.
I basically allude to that some intelligent alien beings intervene on behalf of humanity, give them some technology secrets so they can go out in the cosmos and survive. But they leave because they're so disappointed with what happened to Earth. So it's almost like humanity gets these like technology secrets, like anti-gravity propulsion, 0 point energy, just like highly advanced stuff that we didn't know about, to enable them to build galactiports and at least survive. So I do establish humanity has spread out throughout the cosmos and different,
Right.
but Jancroon is the first galactiport to be built for humans and another sentient being,
Okay.
which is the Croon.
Okay.
Now, it's
There's
not to say, and this is what's fascinating about Jancroon, because I'm opening it up to all sorts of other sentient beings to come into the story later. Because they were in the backstory, they did help us, but they were so disappointed they just left. You know, I'm talking
Right.
about, it could be the Greys, they could be all these other type of aliens that we've heard about. It's really
sure.
really wide open. but it's the Croon in this story. The Croon were we just came into contact with them just barely.
Right, it just so happened to happen, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't have a name for the Croon's origin planet, but it's, you know, not too far of a leap to say that something happened on their home planet, then now they're here, right? So it was almost like, hey, oh, you don't have a planet anymore either. Oh, neither do we. Hey, let's just, like, we could survive together.
Yeah.
We might as well give this a try.
And now tensions are boiling.
Right. So let's capstone this right now, so we can move on to the prophecy, which we talked about. But nobody else heard our pre-podcast conversation, so I want to be mindful that other people are like, wait a minute, I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about. So as a capstone, right, we have Earth is gone, humanity has spread through with alien technology to create these galactiports around the universe, solar system out there.
This is the first pilot galactiport
with
two
species, and
like the International Space Station of intergalactical
galactiport. And so we have the Croon on one side and the humans are on one side. It's a test run. It's only been about 100 years, and the Croon have been, you know, spying, and I'm assuming the humans are spying on the Croon, right? And they're hearing things about each other that they're not too keen on, and the Croon are starting to feel threatened, right? That's like the core of it. It feels threatened.
You know, I'm starting to think about...
Because, let me capstone it.
I'm trying to talk about it. But I was also saying the reason why that there could be a separate between the Earth side, the human side, and the Croon side is it could come down to architecture. Like, you said it yourself, the Croon can be 12 feet tall. They probably won't fit into human size. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's another reason why they could be separated. And it could be based off of their physicality.
Sure. So what ends up happening, right, is that we have these two sides and they're starting to boil, and now we have this prophecy, right? Where the prophecy of, well, here, I'll have you explain the prophecy. That's what the Croon are overhearing that are getting them to the point where it's like, okay, well, something's about to happen that perhaps we can prevent. Perhaps, you know, this is going to be a cataclysmic event for our species. And it's kind of an impetus alongside another thing that we're not talking about that will be revealed later on in the graphic novel. But that's the impetus of what they're doing. So what is this prophecy that's happening?
So the human leaders, well, first of all, there are many civilians on the human side that are reporting sightings of this really mystical and powerful, mysterious figure called Uriah. And all of these sightings, the people say the same thing, that Uriah is warning that something ominous is coming, but there also come 4 strangers from the past will show up. And so this gets back to the leadership of Jancroon, and they're trying to figure out if these people are just crazy, you know, and there's all these rumors. So this figure of Uriah is like a legend or a myth. No one can really tell if it's real, but it is out there. And simultaneously, the Croon are hearing the same thing. So they don't know what to make of it. Mind you, there's something else happening with the Croon that they know they need to do something.
Right.
Drastic. I'm not going to say what that is. You find out later in the second installment. But so there's a combination of things happening to where the tensions are rising, the trust is almost gone, and so when the Croon decide to finally, like you said, Jack, to say, hey, we're going for it. There's a diplomatic meeting with the leaders of the human side and the Master Croon and all the leadership, and that's when stuff just goes bad. So yeah. So it's basically there's this and the character of Uriah, he's like the I guess he's like the Obi-Wan of the story. He is just a powerful presence. His voice is just unbelievable. I'm not too sure. I have all sorts of actors I imagine playing him, but he's basically like a prophet wizard, and he's immensely powerful. he's the one who foretells this society in the future of what's about to happen, and he gives warnings. It's a prophecy, so he's telling them what's about to happen, and
Right.
it takes the leadership of the human side. It takes them a while to realize that, oh my gosh, this is real, you know.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, and that's like what we had talked about in the pre-podcast conversation was that Jancroon is not ready for this battle, right? That's kind of like what the summation of the prophecy is, and what ends up happening, and this is the kickoff into the graphic novel, right? Is these four people from the past being transported to Jancroon to essentially, right, like the prophecy is saying that, hey, the Jancroon, they're about to start mucking stuff up, right? Or the Croon, I'm sorry, the Croon are about to start mucking some stuff up, right? They're it's kind of actually a circular reasoning, right? Like
it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, exactly, because they heard it,
the
and then
prophecy, the prophecy has to become exist. Well, but that's also kind of like the conundrum in time travel. It's like how can you go back in time to stop yourself if you didn't survive what you went to go and do?
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So it's kind of like
yeah.
The only reason why the Croon attacks is because someone came from the past saying the Croon are going to attack.
Well, again, you find out later that there was a bigger reason.
There's a bigger reason.
Right.
The four appearing there and that obviously being fulfilled is the impetus for them to take action. But they
It's more like it's just a little match. There was plenty of gasoline on the floor.
Right. Yeah, right. It's like Archduke Ferdinand getting shot to start World War I. It's like they were all just waiting for a reason.
Yeah,
like it was really just whenever you want to go, we're good. So let's talk about this is a perfect kind of segue into the graphic novel, right? That has had 22 pages made, but now needs to be remade because the artist is not able to continue on. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of showing right this second of like what that graphic novel is, but the story itself is still being worked on. About these characters. So who are these four transplants from Earth coming to the future? And yeah, I guess like let's just kind of kick off where the story begins. We don't have to know everything that happens, but like who are these four characters? Let's start there.
Well, one is so they're all young, early 20s, college-aged kids. There's four of them, different backgrounds. One is named Kai Ling. He's a Chinese American from San Francisco. And what it is, I established, it's like I use the less is more sort of mantra with these characters. You see them in their situations on Earth, and they're each at the lowest points of their young lives, and in their own different ways. Like Kai Ling, he literally, when you first see him, he literally almost gets killed by a rival Chinese gang in San Francisco. There's Raleigh Chagall, who's he's from Iowa, and he's struggling. He's on the brink of suicide because just recently he lost his whole family in an automobile accident. He's struggling. You have Dane Butari from Los Angeles, and he's in and out of gang life. When you first see him, he's running with a gun down an alley. He's got blood all over him, and you hear sirens, and so he's in a dark place. And then you have Redondo Federico. His situation is different. I think his situation will be reflective of a lot of young people, and that there's literally just nothing going on with his life. He's just floating. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what his future like. He's literally not. He's just giving up on a lot of things.
Sure.
Like, when you see him, he's going to school. He's got a part-time job delivering pizza, and he still lives with his parents. And you have in this little conversation he has with his mom, you realize that he goes, well, she's like, what happened today? He goes, nothing happened today.
Right.
So he's just, he's just losing hope in the world, you know. And I think a lot of us, at least I mean, at least for me, when you're at that age, 19, 20, 21, you're at a giant fork in the road with your life, you know, and you have all these different options, and you sometimes you don't know where to go, and you start questioning the meaning of things. You're questioning why you're here, and that's where Redondo is at. So
Sure.
there's a lot of really powerful scenes that could come out of that will come out of the character Redondo, because I think a lot of people can relate to his character because it's nothing visual. So he's not getting beat up. He's not on the brink of suicide. You know, he's not running from a murder scene.
Yeah.
He's just alone. He doesn't know where his future lies. He's questioning a lot of things that he grew up with, and he's at a precipice. You know, where what is my future? Why am I here? You know. So those are the four main ones, four main heroes in this first installment. There
Yeah.
is going to be a fifth one that's introduced in the second installment, but I won't get into that.
Okay. Yeah. And so they get transported to Jancroon, one way or the other. I don't know if we want to go break into how they end up there. And the what ends up happening too, and this is one of the things that we're not talking about why this is happening, but there has been raids on the human side from the Jancroon that are kidnapping people, but they're being masked as mass not mass suicides or kidnappings or disappear right things are people are disappearing, and the reasons why they're being given and why they're disappearing is a bunch of like it's just cover-ups, right? And we're all familiar with cover-ups here in the United States. So like what is actually happening with that, we don't know. But this is the kind of world that they're entering into, right? They end up there, and in the graphic novel, in those first 22 pages, right, one of the characters ends up there and is like a witness to it, right? It just kind of happens right in front of them. So we have this boiling water tension right in this graphic novel, that is just like right. We're right on the precipice of a huge conflict, which is really really cool. And what ends up happening, right? The prophecy is hopefully, I mean, obviously going to be filled. I didn't even know about the fifth guy though, or the fifth person that's going to come and join. So it's really interesting. I mean, is there like what other things should the audience know right this second about that graphic novel and where we're starting, to kind of whet their appetites, get them ready for that?
Well, when you first enter the world, the humans just you find out that there's been mass suicides.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel like, okay, this even though this galactiport is beautiful and breathtaking, and it's just an amazing world to experience, you
Sure.
start to realize that there might be something missing. Like, obviously, if people are committing mass suicides, there's something wrong. There's something
Sure.
else missing in this society. Something's not being fulfilled with these people to want to go on to live. And so that's what so then you're like, oh, that's weird. Why are there? And then, like you said, though, um, as the story goes on, you start to realize that maybe the Croon are behind these mass suicides
Right.
for very, very dark reasons.
Right.
And that's when the audience will slowly start to realize, okay, something's not right here.
Right.
Isn't, something's not working here. And then when the Croon finally decide to do what they do, then it starts to become clearer and clearer.
Right. Right.
But the true reveal of why they're doing it, you don't find out till the second installment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've been really hinting heavy
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that without
hinting
we're
heavy.
dancing around it without actually saying it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, and that's really I think a really good solid base for what
Yeah.
Jancroon is at the start, like what the world's about, where we're at. So I think now would be a good time to transition into some of the ways that you can experience. Like we said, you're not going to be able to jump into
Right.
graphic novel right away because it is being still worked on. but we do have on Roblox a world that you can explore. There's no story or anything to interact with this yet, but you can walk around, which is pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about the Roblox game, and we'll have a link in the description here if you want to. If you have Roblox and you want to go and check it out and kind of walk around and see what's up as they work on it. So what was the thought process behind Roblox, and what is the story going to be once you get there? Like, what's the tease it
the
out.
Roblox game is going to be a game where you can, as soon as you log in, you choose your faction. You can either be a human or a Croon, and it's going to be like a faction-based game. And basically, you're either your team human or team Croon, and you're trying to get control of the galactiport, Jancroon.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, Roblox is such a fascinating and burgeoning platform.
Yeah.
A lot of traditional movie producers are putting IPs onto Roblox just simply because of how massive the amount of eyeballs that are on that space. So it's just smart from a marketing point of view. But we feel like I told you, we've always been told Jancroon could have numerous iterations of interactive experiences, not just on Roblox, but on Fortnite. I mean, it could be an amazing AAA gaming experience down the road. Obviously, those are much bigger budget.
A GTA style thing on a 800-mile
map.
Well, maybe you'd split it in half. You can't go to the Croon side, or you can't go to the human side.
Well, you kind of want it, maybe one of like there was an asteroid that took out a part of the of the galactiport, so you can't go there because they're building it.
Yeah, or rebuilding it or something. Yeah, whatever. The Vice City, the bridge is out because of the hurricane scenario.
When you said that there was the Croon on one side and the humans on the other, and there's this big tension. I mean, I feel like that's just screaming for a Romeo Juliet love story.
Right.
I mean, you think
it doesn't all have to be destruction and hatred, right?
Right. I mean, but
Jack,
two sides.
I'll consider that. Yeah.
I mean, and then once you find out what they're actually doing with it, it might seem a little more devious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ooh,
could be devious.
Yeah.
Could be a devious love story. You don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like, but those are the kind of little micro stories that I think a lot of people would be, because it's so, you have 800 miles,
of stories.
There's the Croon guy that
sweeps the streets or whatever.
Well, he sweeps the street, but there's a gang that runs this side of this Croon gang that runs this side of the Croon side of this
district.
It's funny, you know what I mean?
That because I do want to say because the Great Dome, the entertainment dome, is in the center, and it kind of separates the two halves of the city. There are places along that near the dome that are kind of really rough, and there are establishments like a bar. I have in the story. There's something called the Jancroon Saloon, and it's a place where maybe kind of like the underworld of Jancroon. Different characters from either sides meet, have drinks or whatever, but it's actually one of the human heroes wakes up in the Jancroon Saloon.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of, and it's one of the scenes I took out of the script because I had to shorten it up. You guys, the first script I wrote, the first version, was like 3 hours long. So, but there were scenes in there I had to take out, but simply because I had to shorten up the script. The script should be around 2 hours, but there were scenes like that, like you said, Jack, really add, and so it was this really cool looking bar, but you could tell it's kind of like Mos Eisley in Star Wars. Like, hey, what's going on in this place? There's a lot of different characters, creatures, whatever, and
the people that really run Jancroon, right?
Yeah, and there's also a huge political drama, because it seems as though, like you said, there's a mayor, but there's also who runs both sides? Is it the mayor that is supposed to run the entire galactiport?
There's in a society like this, there's always going to be some seedy underworld elements. So that's what I love about Jancroon, and I'm proud of it, because there's so many different possibilities. There could be so many different iterations, and Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, there's
Well,
endless stories to it,
you imagine, like, think how many stories are in New York City, and then expand it to how long. Like you said, there's a building that's over, star scrapers. There's these, they're massive structures. So there.
Think about
know?
a sitcom, only murders in the building, and that thing. I mean, that would take 28,000 seasons. But so what's really cool, and like we were saying, that like there are all these stories, and I love the fact that it is kind of constricted to the galactiport, but the galactiport has so many stories in it, and like you just said with the Jancroon Saloon, which has almost too much alliteration for me, is a great place. And what we were kind of talking about, right? Like how we can get people interested in now. Like you're out there, you're fundraising, you're working with all these great artists, and you're trying to get this stuff out there. On our pre-podcast conversation, we were talking about how the website right now can be more than just a static page of like this is what's coming soon, and actually have something of interaction. And while we were talking about some calls coming in from either side talking about like this tension and maybe even some something really easy to do, I like this idea of the Jancroon Saloon being a focal point of a story, like just maybe from the bartender's perspective of talking about who came in and whatever, because there's so much we can do.
Recipes for Jancroon Saloon.
Oh, there you go too, for Jancroon, that we could put on there to kind of give people the context of the world and let them play in it a little bit. We were just talking to somebody, Jonathan Gray, about Paratex. I don't know if that one's going to come out after the podcast episode or before, but stay tuned if it hasn't. That is just the percolation of the side little tiny stories within something this big, right? A city this big. There's this overarching tension, but like you said, like there are definitely humans and Croon that are working together in this saloon to get whatever drugs, contraband, money, whatever from side to side.
Illicit trade that is against the law or something.
And I'm just looking from behind you, at the actual structure. We're talking about everything that's superficially on top of the surface, but how is it actually work? Like, the network of conduits and corridors and sewer-like things, pipes and generators that are powering this thing. I mean that's if you're an underworld and you're trying to run a galactiport, how do you? It's just like in Jurassic Park with Dennis Nerdry. You need to shut down this quadrant so that you could get your ships through undetected. But once you do that, then all of a sudden, the shields are down.
So Jack, the galactiport image is done by Emery Watson, and he's known for being one of the top concept designers on the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mm-hmm. So that image, it's actually a 3D model. So it's not a 2D image. So he spent a lot of time on that, and I didn't. Yeah. I paid a pretty penny for that. But what's cool is that because it's a 3D model, when we can, and hopefully it'll be fairly soon, knock on wood, he can zoom in because it's a 3D model in his awesome software. I forget what he used, but we'll be able to develop those places underneath with the anti-gravity, stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
There could be all sorts of other illicit activities going down there. I mean, the mob
ran New York based off of unions. You don't
want
an anti-gravity strike on your hands, do you? No, sirree.
Yeah,
better start greasing those palms with Croon coins.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much possibility right now, right? Like we always say, there's so much going on in the background. And the last thing that we want to see happen is Jancroon being like, it pop back up 2 years from now. It's like, hey, we got the money and all the movies done, and we can, and waiting for these huge things. What can we do right now? Just using the website in low effort, right? Like not low effort as in bad stuff.
High effort.
High effort.
Not a lot of
low
resources.
Fidelity, right? Yeah. Not a resources right now on the website. And I can't remember what you were talking about. Do you remember what we were talking about? I tried to taper Jack's excitement when he was talking about it on the pre-podcast to save it for the podcast.
I think it was just like some kind of just like some kind of detective log or something about the disappearance.
These
disappearance. Oh no, it was it was a psychologist or something that was saying that this person is acting much stranger than they used to.
Oh,
you
right.
know, something like that. Because
Right,
you were
right,
saying, and I don't want to, you know,
Yeah, right. We can't.
get into it, but just like how the person went missing and then came back acting strange. I think there was like a
Right.
and then committed suicide right after, and there was like there was a definite change in what like maybe some kind of reporter is walking around
Right.
like how did this person, you know, and trying to string these few of these suicides together.
Right, and that was the way of just kind of introducing this tension that's occurring on Jancroon and giving a little bit of like a inkling into what might be happening with this tension that's kind of boiling. It's a really cool reason as to why the Croon end up going full force, like what the actual impetus is. But there's so many ways that we can kind of tease it out and really get into the nitty gritty of the daily life on Jancroon, because it's gotta feel like it's gotta be heavy. Like right now, it's a little humid outside. You know, like it's got to be thick air walking around, going like, oh man, like these Croon are like 12 feet tall, and if they wanted to, you know, like they could.
Yeah.
But like, you know, so there's a lot of cool stuff. Right, it was a psychiatrist or detective or something that was. Like little tiny logs, something that's so simple that can be updated.
Something that could be like, you know, maybe it's like in that world. I don't know, you know, I don't want to like, but like after a suicide, you have to, you know, release notes like from the psychiatrist or from you know, an independent, you know, I don't know, just something, but like just something small that like, you know, is teasing the expanse of the world, but. And it's also helping you because we were just talking about paratext. It's like these are the things that are helping support, you know, treat that blog or that whatever as an advertisement or as a marketing
for the graphic
marketing
novel.
For the novel. Something that people aren't just gonna get. Coming soon. This Jancroon the graphic novel. It's like no, this is an actual thing that I can interact with.
You're talking like a blog. I
mean, it could be in the blog form, you know, but it would be, you know, it'd be actually something people want to read about the story. It'll actually have implications, you know.
Yeah.
And then using that as like a newsletter type thing where it's like it goes out, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month. The consistency of it is important, but not at the rate of consistency, but just making it coming out
constant. It has to be consistent.
Right. And it would just be such a great way of getting people, like when they come onto the website and they sign up, it's like, hey, you want the next chronicle of, you know, the detective,
the next news bulletin that's happening, and you know,
because we love newspapers, and we love like the captain's logs and these things that they allude to bigger issues that are going on, but from the perspective of individuals that are just like, dude, I'm just living here. I don't know what the hell's going on, right?
You know
I'm trying to figure it out because I'm curious, or I'm dealing with these people.
It's a digital publication called Galactiport Daily or something.
Yeah, right. There you go. Perfect. That actually, And
then you could do some political cartoons like the one you sent me.
Yeah, right.
Or like memes and putting those in there as well, which I love. And if it's like, say it's the front page, right? Front page, little tiny article, then you could always have like little advertising for the Jancroon Saloon, right?
Yeah, right.
Hey, come on down and get a beer and, you know, some Croon coin or whatever, right? If Croon coin isn't a thing,
I should create my own drinks for the Jancroon Saloon.
That's what he.
Sure. You definitely should. Something,
because that's another thing, right? Like we had a show called Stipulations for those real loyal followers of Frank and Jack. That was about creating cocktails and stuff, but it was stipulated. So like we would have people vote on it on Instagram what had to be in it, and then Jack would have to figure out how to make it.
Yeah, how to make it. Sometimes they turned out good. Sometimes they didn't.
But what is cool about that is that if you have recipes and stuff of like, hey, this is how you make it, and then even having, you know, like you dressing up as one of the characters or having an actor dress up as one of the characters or the bartender at the Jancroon Saloon being like, oh, man, we're just making this. This is like, you know.
Anything, you know, it just makes it feel more lived in. Makes it feel more like I'm not going to, you know, we were talking to, when we were talking to Jonathan Gray, he was saying that his memory of Star Wars was less about the movies and was more about the toys.
Right.
Because when he was little, when it came out, you know, it's like 2 hours, every 3 years you'd get another 2-hour installment.
Right.
It was the fact he was playing with the action figures
Right.
all that time that really helped him. So it's these little stories that, you know, aren't the thing that is going to blow it up, but it's going to keep everybody there until the next
Big
burst
thing,
of action. So
I agree. I was the same kid, you know.
Right.
Back then, we had to wait 3 years for the next installment, and
Right.
And in between there, you had your X-wing fighter and your TIE fighter and your action figures to get you
Right,
back.
right.
So
And a bunch of, and
definitely.
what was really cool about that was a bunch of action figures, side characters, right, that didn't have a big backstory that you could make up for yourself, right? The sandbox that you were able to play in.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember you wanted to collect the figure, the action figure that you only saw for 2 seconds on the screen.
Right, right,
You'd be
right.
like, oh, that was the guy in that one scene, and you'd want that character even more, you know?
Right. Yeah,
So-
because he didn't have a story. It was
Right.
all up
It
to
was-
you what
yeah,
happened.
what happened to him, how
did
he
he
got
help
there,
anybody?
you know,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so-
I mean, so many great things here. We're coming up on our hour. This is like I said, like when shout out to Scott from Coon Mighty, who will eventually be on this podcast, for introducing us. You know, this is a great world. I know you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and I know that there's a lot of potential. And I really, what we want is we want to see more of it now, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big thing is with the Roblox being able to walk through the levels and even just kind of whetting your appetite and looking at things, and then encouraging people to interact and tell, like, if there's a way for them to contact you back and be like, oh yeah, look, like I love this building right here because it reminds me X, Y, and Z, and this is the story, you know.
Jancroon, we do have a Discord channel too.
Oh, okay. Good.
So,
Well, links will be in the description there
Okay.
as well, so you can join the Discord. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out. I have full trust in Louie here that he's going to be start pumping stuff out. And so if you're interested at all about this, it sounds like it's going to be something that a well thought out transmedia taking place in deep space. I mean, really, there's really nothing really to complain about. The world is going to be the oyster. There's going to be so many stories and so many opportunities for the audience to tell their own stories on Jancroon, being a member, right? Like you said, on Roblox, being either faction trying to take over. I think the one thing that I'll say is in Grand Theft Auto 5, the online version of that game, there are people that go and work at fast food restaurants. That's what they do. They go online to work at so Jancroon has a 28,000 times, I don't know what the multiplicative would be, but yeah, of more opportunities of that, of being like, yeah, you know, there's a war going on up there, but what I do is I'm at the saloon dealing in this, right? Whatever the big overarching thing, I'm just living life here. And if you can get people to want to live on Jancroon, that's it.
A good sign.
That's what you're looking for.
it's funny you mentioned that because we've had all sorts of brainstorming sessions with all the things that could come out of the Jancroon story world, particularly the Galactiport. There's too much to even go into, especially the entertainment dome. So in the Roblox game, we plan on having starting Friday evenings tournament style play inside the Great Dome.
Sure. Ooh,
on
that's
weekends.
nice.
So
Nice.
like one-on-one versus battles and stuff. So a lot of different stuff we'll be able to do.
That would be that's really cool to see. Like, yeah, because that's like almost that's like watching people play FIFA on YouTube, right? Like if you're there, like, oh yeah, my battle's in 10 minutes, but I'm watching this kind of go out, and you actually have people in the audience watching, which is really
So
cool.
wait, what is your favorite district of Jancroon?
District?
Well, what's your favorite what's your favorite neighborhood? Where do you like to go to eat?
Honestly, I really the Jancroon Saloon is the reason why I mentioned it is because it is such a unique place because it is a congregation area for Croon and Human, even though there's a separation. So it's kind of like you're going into a place that, hey, there could be some shady stuff going down. We might get no fight. We don't know, but that's what makes it exciting. So,
But it's gonna suck when Guy Fieri comes on and it's on the dives, drives, and diners. show.
Yeah, right. The the Croon version of Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
But in terms
flavor,
of like,
it's flavor port or whatever.
So, but in terms of like the restaurants, places to eat, I mean, man,
I was just trying to like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite part of it? You know,
even thought about those kind of details. But again, when I'm gonna sit down with Emery and really get into the details of the city, that's the kind of things we're gonna be building.
And listen, with the Roblox game too, right? You'll have people going like, "I want to open up a restaurant here." Then it's like, "Great, it's your restaurant. Name it what you want. You serve whatever it is." And like, because we were talking with Jonathan Gray, like, that's too much for one person.
Yeah, so that's called open source. So there is a huge opportunity once we get it at least initially launched to make it open source, people to build their own stuff and truly make it their own, have their own apartment, have their own restaurant, whatever.
No, it's very exciting.
In the midst of this clash between human and Croon, because you still are fighting for your home. This is where you live. So, and the Croon want to take it over. The humans are fighting to keep their lives and their home. You know, so it'd be really fun.
Yeah. Listen, Louie, this has been great. Great conversation. Glad that we had you on.
I appreciate
it. For the listeners, all those and everything else will be in the description if you want to go check out Jancroon. Looking forward to more, man. Looking forward to more.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it, and I thank Scott for the referral. So I appreciate it, and nothing but good stuff ahead.
Thanks for adventuring with us, intrepid explorers. If you want more great content, Frank?
Well, there's some other, if you're watching on YouTube, there are some other episodes that I picked out that are not similar to Jancroon, but other worlds that deal with these exoplanet outside of our universe story worlds that have a similar flair. And then also, if you want to learn more about transmedia and how to create your own story worlds, well, we have some other experts that have been on the episodes. Past 2 episodes actually have been experts. So there's a lot of stuff to bite into. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you.